What's going on, everyone? This is Paul Hutchings coming to you live for episode 21 of, give me a drum roll, Good Parts 21. I'm excited to be here today. This is a daily social media show that I do every day, Monday through Friday. Never hurts to go the extra mile and say the same thing a few times, right? Monday through Friday, Monday through Friday, Monday through Friday, Monday through Friday, 11 a.m. roughly Eastern Standard Time, where I do my best to deliver one good part from my life and or business in an effort to deliver something of use value to you that you can hopefully use to create more happiness, joy, abundance, peace, prosperity, happiness, all the good things that life has to offer. Do I have all of those things myself? Hey, I'm a student just like you, right? But I think I've obtained some of them for sure. And I'm still learning a lot of great things. And I think we can learn together. And it's been my experience over the years that the more we learn, the better we get. And I absolutely have seen a huge increase in my levels of happiness and joy and peace through some of the things that I've learned, the great lessons that mentors and life experiences have passed along to me. So in today's episode, I'm going to be talking about the injustice paradox, and more importantly, what to do about it. And I think this is it's a great insight for me. Hopefully it'll be a great insight for you. So tune in and pay attention if you want to pick that up. Thanks so much to everyone who's commenting. Nick, appreciate you so much from Almost Heaven, West Virginia. Amy Star Allen in his house. Amy is such a great friend, great marketer, great person, great light. Love you so much, Amy. Thanks for tuning in. As is Nick, as is Bill Fever. Good morning. Thanks for being here today, Bill. Amy says, I was in tears when you shared about your son on the call this morning. Aw, I didn't know you were on the call. That's so cool. Thank you very much, Amy, for tuning in. And I am going to be talking a little bit about that today, but not in as much detail. So Amy was referring to a mastermind that we do every day where I shared a story of injustice. And at the end of the video today, I'll show you how you can listen to that whole call if you want and hear all of the details. I'm not going to go into all the details in this live today, but what I do want to talk about is the fact that as a parent, one of the things I've heard my kids say this so many times, and they keep saying it. And usually this is in response to, they get in trouble. Mom and dad try to do whatever we can to rectify the situation, dish out some sort of punishment or whatnot. And the kid that we're doing this for will say, that's not fair. Why don't you do this to this brother and this brother and this brother and this brother did this and he didn't get in trouble? That's not fair. I've heard that all my time as a parent. That's not fair. And because I keep hearing this over and over and over again, it's caused me to reflect. Initially I would say, hey, life's not fair. That's right. Life's not fair. Get used to it, kid. I would say things like that. But then I would think, do I really believe that life's not fair? Do I really believe that? I mean, it seems like life is fair in some aspects and maybe not so fair in other aspects. And so that's how I came up with this thing called the injustice paradox. And the way that I explain this, I was actually having a conversation with a good friend of mine this morning, Jesse Jenkins over in New York City. And we were talking about this injustice that I talked about on the call this morning. And she was pointing out, good things about it. I have one of my sons kind of dealing with something right now. And she said, one of the good things about this is that he probably is going to continue to develop his empathetic muscle. And he probably will be able to see things and people more clearly because he is on the receiving end of this, quote unquote, injustice. And I said, yeah, I agree totally. One of my favorite quotes, if you haven't heard me say it yet and decide to keep tuning in, you're probably going to hear me say this, not just today, but again and again in the future, comes from Napoleon Hill. And he said, in every apparent setback lies the seed of an equal or greater advantage. And as we continue to talk about this situation with my son, it caused me to reflect back on an injustice that I felt I dealt with in the job world, where people who were performing at a lower level than I was, who were not working as long as I was, who didn't care about the customers and serve the customers as well as I was, this is my perception, were getting promoted past me, getting put into positions of management, getting higher pay. And I was in this situation looking around like one of my kids saying, that's not fair. That's not fair. And when I was in that situation, what happened for me was it lit this fire inside of me where I said, I do not want to deal with this my entire life. I do not want to be in a situation my entire life where someone else is telling me you can only earn this much. You can't go past this point. You have to stay in this little box, that you're in. And I said, my soul said, no, 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 not for me. That's not fair. I'm not dealing with it. And it gave me this intense motivation to go out and create a life of freedom. So from that unjust experience, didn't I gain something from that? I really did, didn't I? So back to the injustice paradox. Part of life that seems fair to me are the seemingly invisible, nonetheless very real and tangible laws of the universe. In our company, in our community, we call these principles. Stephen Covey, in his book, 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, said that a principle is a principle if it will work as well for Paul as it will for Amy, as it will for Nick, as it will for Gail, Arnita, Mark. Like if I can teach a principle that's working for me and you can take that principle and apply it in your life and it works for you, that's a principle, or a law of the universe, the way things work, the laws of God. Emerson said the dice of God are always loaded. And I was taught as a kid in church that God is just. God is just, and whatever your ideas of God are, I'm not here to, preach anything in that area. I'm just saying, if we have an idea of a first cause, infinite intelligence, creator, God, the divine, the Tao, as they would say in Eastern thought, whatever your word for describing that higher law, that higher consciousness, that higher, realm that we sometimes find our spirits reaching for. When I think about that, it's really hard for me to say that whatever that is unjust. It's hard for me to ascribe that quality to the divine or something that I would look to as a higher source of light. That being said, a lot of people in their arguments against God say, look at this earth. Look at all of the tragedy that's happening. Look at all of the wars. Look at all of this stuff. There's no way that God could be just or even exist because of all of these injustices happening. So back to the unjust paradox. The paradox, okay? Here's the paradox. Life is filled with people, and people are not perfect. Sometimes people act in ways that are not just, as illustrated with, story I told this morning about my kid, my son, the job world. Was this God being unjust to me? No, this was people being unjust to me. This was my bosses. These were people. So if I were to sum up the injustice paradox in a sentence, I would say people sometimes are unjust, but God is always just. The laws of the universe are always just. As Emerson would say, the dice of God are always loaded. What does that mean? That means that if we can align ourselves with higher principles, with higher laws, with the higher good, and we can live into those things over time, the reward is sure because the dice of God are always loaded. What loaded dice? I'm not a gambler, but a loaded dice means there's a weight in it. Means that every time you throw that dice on the table, it's going to land the same number. That's what a loaded dice is. You can count on it. It's guaranteed. So when Emerson says the dice of God are always loaded, what I think he means is that when we throw the dice of principle, when we throw the dice of acting in ways that are honest, when we throw the dice of persistency, consistency, showing up time after time after time, again and again and again, for the good of ourselves and the good of other people, we are literally rolling loaded dice. And that's the beneficial part of the injustice paradox. For me, my belief is that we can count on that. We can take that to the bank. So when we perceive injustices happening in the world, what do we do about it? Well, I think the thing we do, number one, is recognize probably people involved in that equation, not God, people, right? Number two, we say, what are we going to do about this? Are we going to get down on life? Are we going to, wallow in negativity and cynicism and criticism, running around saying life's not fair, therefore I'm not going to do anything, I'm not going to better myself, I'm not going to do anything good in the world because look at all this injustice everywhere? I mean, that would be an option, right? Doesn't seem to me to be a very useful option. What I think we do is when we experience injustices, we look inside and we say, what can I do as an individual to be the change I wish to see in the world? How can I take the motivation and the emotion that came to me in this injustice? How can I gather that up and turn it into something positive, transmute it into the change that would be better, a better example? And as I was talking to Jesse this morning, the comment came up that one of the great things about sometimes running into injustices is we as individual humans, we're faced with a choice at that point. We say, okay, here's one example. Do I want to be like that? Do I want to follow this example? Or do I want to recognize that there's a higher ideal? And then do I want to live into that? And do I want to load my dice with the power of God, as we are moving forward, being the change we wish to see in the world? So that's the injustice paradox. And over time, again, I'm not perfect, but doing my best to feel and believe that there is a higher source, a higher wisdom, a higher voice that I can strive with all my might to tune into, and then strive with all my might to live into. Over time, that effort has shown me the reward is always sure, it seems. Emerson wrote a great book called Compensation. If you haven't read that book, I would recommend it on this topic, that there's a compensation that's built into the fabric of life that is sure. You cannot give and give and give and give and give and not get something back in return. Compensation. There's a balancing of the scales, balancing of the scales. And that's a really, really great thought, I think, to be aware of. So anyway, those are my thoughts, guys. I wanted to pass those along in today's good parts. I'm going to check in with the comments here. Martin from Spain. Hey, thank you so much, Martin. I appreciate you being here. Thanks for all of your messages and your notes in the chat. Mark from Pennsylvania. Welcome, Mark. Thanks for tuning in. Gail says, I loved your story as well this AM, Paul, but my spin is very positive. I believe your son has lots of people watching and handling his situation in his own ways, and knowing that from your training, everything will work out the way that it's supposed to. Well, Gail, I'm opposed to positive spins. Haha, just kidding. No, I love it. Yeah. Thank you so much, Gail. I appreciate that and agree. Nick says, yes, that's a sad world at times, but it is up to us to make that change to better our lives. Amen to that. Unfortunately, a lot of people are stuck continuing to live in that vicious circle and stay in that backward mindset when they know that the possibilities are endless and that the sky is the limit. Beautiful words from Nick Romani. All we see are possibilities. I love that, Nick. Bill Fever says, the injustice we face and the failures we have in our lives gives us the strength, right? Strength. The refinement, like gold, being made pure and more perfect. Good part, Paul. I love it. Well, thank you, Bill. Such a good part that you've added to today's episode. So that's the end of the content. I do have 2 challenges that might be beneficial to your life. 3 challenges. Challenge number 1, if you got value from this experience here on the Good Part Show, I would love to invite you to subscribe to me on social media, wherever you are finding this. And the future episodes will pop up in your newsfeed, and we can stay connected that way. If you want to make sure that you get these in your inbox and not leave it up to chance with the algorithm gods, you'll want to subscribe to my email list. And you can find that by going to this website I have on the screen, paulhutchings.net/GIFTS. I also have some cool free goodies. So you can go to that page, look at the goodies I have, pick the one that resonates with you, and you'll be subscribing to my email list where I send these episodes and also lots of other really great things, all designed to help you and me live our best lives, be free, do great things in life and business. That's what you'll get. And the last challenge I have is, if you're not already doing something live on social media, I would love to invite you to do so. And how do you do it? What do I call it? What do I talk about? What kind of a platform? Should I do a podcast? Should I do this? Should I do that? Should I do the other? Should I pick a target market? There are all these questions that I think sometimes keep people stuck from doing the thing. Emerson said, do the thing and you shall have the power. I believe that's true. So the Good Parts Challenge is all about challenging people to do something easy and good that is beneficial for them and others. And you would basically just commit to going live on a regular frequency. You choose the frequency. You can call it The Good Parts with your name, and you pick one good part from your life and or business that you can pass along, that you can shine in the form of light into your connections news feeds. And that's the challenge. And you can also, if you do that, if you take us up on this challenge, you can put hashtag the Good Parts Challenge in your content, and we will, in our community, the ones that are doing this challenge, we can find your content and give you feedback and inspiration and motivation, and you can find others who are taking the Good Parts Challenge as well. So those are my calls to action. As mentioned in a former video, you always want to give people an off ramp when you've loaded them up in the car and showed them the scenery on your road trip. Call to action is an off ramp, right? So those are the off ramps. David Twomey says giving and receiving in a relaxed body. Ooh, I like that. I like being relaxed. All right, guys, that's it. Take care. Make it a great day. Go for your dreams. Do great things. And we will see you, hopefully, if you come back Monday in episode 22 of The Good Parts with Paul Hutchings. Take care and bye for now.